everybody, I'm Susan Hay, and welcome to Heart of the City, coming to you from the CN Tower in Toronto. Today we have the story of what it's like to be a nurse, working in a prison and taking care of inmates. But first, Duncan McKinley is an inspirational man for many reasons. He has taken his Tourette's syndrome, a very challenging and unpredictable disorder, and turned it into an empowering tool, helping others to accept their own differences.
As an 8-year-old kid, it seems like there's a devil in your head, because whatever it is that's your deepest, darkest, hated thing that scares you the most, that embarrasses you most, that petrifies you the most, that is what is going to come out. The true demon is ignorance. I remember a lot from my childhood in terms of emotion. I remember how I felt. I remember the depression. I remember the anxiety. I remember the frustration, not being understood. But I don't remember much in terms of events because I wasn't out there. I really, in a lot of ways, I wasn't a part of society for the first part of my life. I was so lost in my own neurology. I was so up here and fighting so many inner battles and suppressing tics and trying to make sure no one was noticing what I was doing and fighting thoughts going over and over in my head and trying to ignore the sensory overstimulation, those wires in my socks. 10 years later, what I would say is that Tourette syndrome is an amplification of self. It's not, there isn't a demon up there. It's not you and the demon. It's all you, but it's you magnified. Every thought, emotion, feeling, behavior, impulse, you own them all, but it's like there's a neurological microphone held up to everything. And so it puts everything on your sleeve. It makes, everything is out there. You're living big. I'm pumped about this. I don't get to do this nearly enough anymore. This is really the bread and butter. This is a big paycheck of doing what I do. I love getting together with these kids.
My name's Duncan, and I'm really glad to be here. And it's pretty cool to meet all of you. I'm really glad that I got diagnosed with Tourette syndrome.
When I was little, I used to think I was the only one in the world who was like me.
The best day of my life was the day I found out what the name was. And what I mean by that is, like, when all this stuff was going on and I didn't know what it was kind of like living in a minefield. It was almost like the Tourette's was this little kid that was always getting me in trouble. And he'd be, tagging behind me and bugging me and tripping me and hitting me and stuff. And whenever I'd turn around to try and see who it was, he'd duck behind a bush. And I wouldn't be able to figure out who he was.
And I was 18 years old, and I flipped open the paper, and there was an Ann Landers article. And it started talking about this thing called Tourette syndrome. And definitely that was the epiphany. There's not been a more important moment in my life. It made me feel like I wasn't alone, that other people had this thing as well. It was like the weight of the world lifting off the shoulders.
And at this point, I wouldn't call him a gremlin anymore. I certainly would have then, but not anymore. He's my bud now.
What I do now is I hope to, speed that journey up for other folks in this position.
And when did you make that decision?
How easy is it to hide Tourette's? When you have Tourette syndrome, it's like bringing an elephant in the room with you. It's like, it's big, it's gray, it's smelly, it's making noise, and people are like, "Whoa, an elephant!" And if you kind of pretend the elephant's not there, it doesn't fool anyone. Because what bullies love is to see when you're really uncomfortable about something. And so one of the best strategies in the world is to get right up there. You beat the bullies at their own game. You stand up in front of your class, you don't hide it, you don't give the bullies any extra fuel for their fire, and you say, "Hi, I have Tourette syndrome. Let me introduce you to my elephant."
I just went up there during core class and I said, "Everybody, I have Tourette syndrome," and I explained it all about to them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
There's kids in that class that have stuff they're hiding too. Might not be Tourette's, but they'll have another disorder. Maybe they have red hair. Maybe they have freckles. Maybe they wear glasses. Maybe they're about to get braces. Maybe they don't like the shape of their nose. There's all sorts of things that people don't like about themselves. Tourette's is the pebble in our shoe, but everyone has something. And when you're standing up there and you're saying, "I have Tourette's, let me introduce you to my elephant," you may not realize it, but you're being a hero to some of these kids. And you're being a real role model, even when you're helping yourself.
You realize, okay, this is the way I am, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And that, I think, that's the place you need to get before a lot of strategies can kick in.
I want to suggest a strategy here. And for this one, I'm going to need a volunteer. Becky, come on, let's stand up here. Okay, so come on over here. I'm going to be the bully. And we're outside at recess. And you're going to be the person with Tourette's, okay?
And I'm kind of used to the names people call me because a lot of people make fun of my Tourette's and think I'm a freak and they think I'm abnormal and everything.
I have a line right now. It's a zinger. You have never heard such a crushing, teasing line in your life. When I tell you this line, you're just going to crumble. You're a table. You're such a table. You're a silly table. Ha ha, look at her, the table. I thought you were supposed to be crushed. You don't look any different. People are laughing. This is not the response I thought I'd get. I thought this was a really awful thing to call it. Does it not bug you that much for me to call you a table or a fridge? Why not?
There's certain points that I want to make sure I hit throughout the presentation, and one is about validation, giving them a pat on the back.
It doesn't make you a table just because I think you're a table. And it really has nothing to do with you, does it? I'm the one with the problem. I need my head examined. Now, my question is, does it make any difference if I change the word?
You know, really verbalizing everything that they've gone through.
Well, what if I call her a freak? Is that just another word? If I call her a freak, does that mean automatically she's suddenly a freak? No. Maybe I just need my eyes checked because she knows, hey, I'm not a table. I'm not a fridge, and the same logic applies. I'm not a freak.
Acknowledging that that's been hard work and it hasn't been fair, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not stronger for having gone through it.
It kind of like made me realize if somebody calling me a freak is exactly the thing as somebody calling me a table. It's not the truth, and it doesn't bother me.
And they can feel really proud of themselves for being here today, willing to talk about, despite everything they've endured.
You know, we often talk about, oh, Tourette's makes you tick, oh, it makes you swear, oh, it makes you do all these things. But there's the flip side, too.
I would rather have it than not right now because I've just lived with it all my life, and I've learned a lot of skills and a lot of things from it, and so I just find I'm a better person because of having it.
All of a sudden, this disorder can become your most powerful ally.
Who here is considered really funny in their class?
I'm like a pretty good drawer, and everybody's saying how good I draw, and I'm always like making up jokes and goofing around stuff.
Who here is really fast, like when they're playing sports or BMX or whatever? I mean, they really move quick. What do you do?
Well, I BMX.
Yeah.
And I have to be able to pedal up the hills and everything, so I have to like have lots of energy.
I've so much sculpted my life around tapping into that potential that if I woke up tomorrow and that disinhibited energy was gone, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I'd have a disorder called not having Tourette's syndrome. I get emotional at the end of my presentations because I think about what a different life I would have lived if when I was 10 years old someone was doing the same thing.
Anything?
It's not a disability, it's an ability. We can do anything that anyone else can do just as well. So don't diss it.
It's a double-edged sword. Would I have had a happier childhood? Probably. Would I be doing what I'm doing now? Would I have recognized, would I have developed the strengths that I have now? Maybe not.
So I want to tell everybody that Tourette's really isn't all that bad. Like, because if you ever get diagnosed with it, you'll find out that it's not really that bad. Not everybody swears.
I'm okay with who I am now. And part and parcel with that is recognizing that the reason I am who I am now, this person that I like, is because of every single experience I've had. And the negative ones at least as much as the positive ones.
I once heard a doctor standing up at a meeting, actually, and he was telling parents, you know, I can suppress this tic with this medication, we can suppress that movement, and it's ridiculous because nothing needs to be suppressed. You know, he talks about people suffering from Tourette syndrome. I have not suffered a single day of my life because of my Tourette's, because of myself. I have benefited from it completely, and the only reason I've ever suffered is because of other people.
So, would I go back to 10 and have a presentation done for me? At age 10, yeah. At age 15, yeah. At age 20, maybe even 25, yeah. At age 29, I don't think so. I think that I went through an important process for me.
Most of the people that have it really are pretty decent and good human beings.
And if I can help other kids learn those things and allow them to not go through what I went through growing up, I can't picture anything more tangible I could possibly do in this world.
Thanks for watching our show this week. If you'd like to contact me with a story idea or if you'd like some information, you can always email me at heartofthecity@globaltv.ca. And that's our show from the CN Tower in Toronto. We'll see you next time with more stories right across Canada about everyday people doing extraordinary things right here in the heart of the city. Bye for now.